Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Now, I'm here with Jeremy once more because we are fast approaching the summer solstice, the next of our great fire festivals or solar festivals of the year. And this really is the time of peak, what you might call peak power or peak solar power, because we are approaching very fast the longest day of the year where the sun is at its maximum, as it were. And yeah, midsummer. It feels to me, if I'm absolutely honest, like summer has barely begun, and here we are in the middle of it and just about to reach the top of a hill and begin the long, slow slide down towards winter, which is always a sobering thought. This festival is also called the Festival of Joy, and you know, again, it's this great. It's the peak of the sort of yang energy really going out and really us being able to ride that and nature riding that. So yeah, welcome, Jeremy, and
Welcome.
your thoughts on it.
I entirely agree with everything you were just saying. I mean, we become the most popular people when we portend the beginning of spring as being the 1st of February. And we are absolutely everybody's worst enemy when we talk about the end of summer.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
people absolutely barely feel that we've started anything.
Mm,
But June the 21st to the 24th, that midsummer point, is where the energy is heightened, that solar energy. And you can really feel it all around you in nature. As we look around now, all the trees have caught up with each other. Those ones that come into leaf early, the ones that come into leaf late, no, everything now is fully in leaf. And you can see the green is beginning to darken.
yeah.
So we come from that sort of early summer where everything is fresh greens. And now as you walk around, and I'm looking out my window here, you can see there are these tones of deeper greens because we're really deepening into that sense of growth, that sense of summer, everything moving. And it's a really, really important part of the year. But you mentioned that one word, joy.
Yeah.
And with all the other names for this festival, from Litha to Saira, it is this festival of joy because it is the celebration of that sun, the light, the energy that feeds us that we do at this point of the year as well. It's
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic to
Yeah.
celebrate that in joy.
Yeah, it's that absolute peak of, you know, the exuberance of nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, you talked about you know, the leaves and things like this. It's, you know, we've been through the blossom season now. And you know, the flowers, the roses, everything is blooming and blossoming. The garden is full of color.
Yeah.
But it's all looking to set the seed.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
The blossom is followed by the seed, and you look at the fruit trees and the, you know, the fruits are just beginning to form, the apples, the pears, the quinces, the, you know, I have soft fruit in my garden, black currants, red currants, things like this, and they're all be ready to pick in the next week, 10 days.
Yeah.
You know, so everything's beginning to bring itself to its purpose, which is really to keep life moving forwards.
Yeah.
It's this continual cycle of, you know, the beauty of the blossom, the beauty of spring, that then goes into that burst of energy, you know, that full burst of energy in the summer, which is creating, beginning to form and create the seed that becomes the fruit in the autumn, that then lies fallow through the winter, and then the whole cycle starts again.
Exactly. And we're reaching that high point. And, you know, autumn begins the 1st of August. And
Yeah, I mean, it
that'll be
sounds,
our next talk. But we are,
people think you're mad when you say that, but
I
if you
know,
it's very true. Yeah.
yeah, because May, June, July is summer.
Yeah.
And summer, you know, is about the weather we're having at the moment, but actually it is about growth.
Yeah.
It's not about ripening. We need a different type of sun and a different type of weather to ripen crops and to ripen fruits and for the seed to be set. So now this May, June, July period really is all about this period of high and intense growth.
Yeah.
But in June, the very first sort of fragment of that idea of ripening is set. One of the key themes of June is about the fires of June,
Yeah.
obviously the fire ceremony in the 21st. But one of those is about ripening. And it's not that we have to put a focus on what we're ripening yet. We still need to be in that period of growth. But as you said, with the things that are around you, you can see the first setting of that seed on the plant happening already. So we do bring our consciousness into what's to come, but not to get ahead of ourselves and looking about, well, I've got to start ripening this. No.
Yeah.
June and that build up to this solar festival is all about momentum, about growth, about drive. One of the other parts of the fires of June is all about releasing something inside of us that does get us moving.
Yeah.
It's not about letting things go, it's about releasing something within us that takes us forward.
Yeah.
Really hugely motivates us and takes us forward, and releasing that joy as well.
Yeah.
Now, everything is plentiful, when everything is bountiful, when you can see all the land and everything around you, releasing those feelings of joy inside you is a really important way to mark and celebrate
Yeah.
what's going on at the 21st. Because when we get into July and we have that period of preparation for the next phase of the cycle, what happens is July is about the momentum we've created carrying on.
Yeah.
June can be frenetic and intense. And it is everything this year. All the astrologists have been saying to us, this is a huge June, and it certainly is transpiring to be that.
Yeah.
When we get to July, we have to stop efforting.
Yeah.
And just allow.
And it's almost like, the course is set, that in July, we've got a chance to make adjustments. We've still got a chance to make adjustments. And there's still some movement, to kind of like reset the guidance a little, as it were. And I think it's really interesting what you said about letting go, because I mean, look to nature, there's something called the June drop, where the fruit trees let go of some of the fruit that the seeds that they're developing, the fruits that they're developing. They will concentrate their energy on the most promising ones and let go of those, and they do it so easily and so gracefully. We can learn so much from that. So again, we need to just look at what are we bringing into our lives, what are we trying to create, what movement forwards are we trying to bring in, and again, just double check, is this, am I on course, is this right, what do I need to let go of to give, as you said, that impetus, drop some weight so we can really push forward and really release the energy, and move forwards into that uplifting joy of what lies ahead of us.
What we always say in June is often we find everything we work comes into one stream, and this doesn't mean it's one project, but everything aligns itself in one stream in June. We get to the 21st, and by the time we get to July, they're beginning to separate out again, because you get that nature saying, well, what resources have I got available? What's happened throughout this time of year now? Well, actually, I don't think I'm going to be able to deliver all of the fruit that I've set, or have all this leaf cover, because and you get leaf drop and you get fruit drop and everything else going on, to make sure that what is delivered is of the best quality, designed for the next and moving us on. And we can always learn so much for that. Looking around us and going, well, yeah, I've been working on all of this, but as you said, are they all going to really get to fruition? Have I got enough energy with everything I've now been dealing with to try and work on all these? Or should I set some aside? Doesn't mean it's forever, but for this cycle, yeah, no, I can't now be dealing with that. I need to focus on all of this now. So we just move it on and move it on.
Yeah. Very important, actually. It's often overlooked. Yeah, and again, you know, it's this spiraling of consciousness, moving, the constant movement, always forming and reforming itself, energy forming and reforming, always trying to grow and better and move forwards, onwards, upwards, outwards. It's not, you know, we are, yes, the energy is going to fall back into the land after we get past. It's going to very, very slowly, very gradually start to fall back into the land initially. But it's that rest, it's that burst of energy, and then the rest cycle. Then it's a pulse, isn't it? The pulse, the movement of life.
And that's why we go to July, which is more slower.
Yeah.
Because we've set up momentum, and if we're in flow, we shouldn't need to be efforting.
Absolutely.
Now just take us
you know, the movement, yeah, it's kind of like the thrust has happened.
Yeah.
Now you just let it move forward, follow the current that you've set up, basically. Yeah.
And it's counterproductive to actually keep efforting and keep trying to drive things forward, because that's not what's happening in nature. That's not what we're given to work with.
Yeah.
And so by doing that, often you're taking things beyond where it needs to be, or actually you're just going to get nowhere with it, because you've set up what you need to set up through June, and now it can just take over and keep going through.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it is all this big build up to this point of the year, which, I mean, we also must really look at when we do midsummer. We also must have a reflection back to midwinter.
Yeah, it's a balance.
Because it's a balance. It's those 2 points, shortest, longest days, but also those two festivals. Where were you in midwinter? When we get to midsummer, have a point and give yourself that moment of reflection to sort of think, well, what's going on at midwinter when we were in the shortest days? Where am I now? Who am I now? What am I working with? What passions do I still have? Just that moment of reflection of the journey that you've gone on. We're not prone to having to give huge amounts of reflection on a year until later on, as we get towards that point of the beginning of the cycle again in November. But we are at this point given the opportunity just to see how far we've actually traveled.
Yeah.
And that balance between those 2 points in the cycle.
Yeah.
We are.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I mean, there's one or two other little fun things about this time of year. Obviously, you know, we have long hours of daylight, particularly in the northern climes, which is really lovely.
Yeah.
It doesn't last long enough, I have to say, from my point of view. But yes, you know, there's that long evenings to be enjoyed, but also as you know, you've said we're at solar maximum. Effectively, we've got, you know, the most amount of solar energy. The solar energy is so good for our bodies. You know, make the most of it, because we're going to be much like nature is storing up goodness for the coming winter. Our bodies need to be storing as much solar light, as much sunlight as they possibly can to take us through the winter. And you know, I talk about that in terms of just the healing benefit of the sun, and the sunlight is very healing on our bodies. That's something that's been known about. You know, it's very ancient wisdom, and the current thing about, you know, sunlight is bad for you and things like that is really one of the big deceptions in many ways. But obviously vitamin D, lots of vitamin D, we need it. It is so essential at so many levels. You know, we get it from exposure to sunlight, and by the time we hit the autumn equinox in these northern climes, we'll be past being able to make vitamin D in our skin. So make the most of that now. And another fun little thing is that apparently the fairies are around an awful lot at this time of year. The long nights bring them out.
Right, excellent.
So you're very likely, if you tune in, to meet some fairies, or potentially, so leave a nice offering out for them. You might want to leave a little offering out for them on Midsummer's Eve. And we all know what Shakespeare had to say about Midsummer's Eve.
Exactly. But it is, I mean, it's that time of year, but it actually with the sun, it lasts those 3 days, doesn't it? It's the
Yeah, it
same with
does.
the midwinter. We have the sun rising and setting at the same point for 3 days. And then the
It's a
fourth,
pause point,
you
isn't it?
notice it. Yeah. So it is this pause, this pulse, this just moment where something shifts.
Yeah.
And as we tune into it, you can often really feel something around you has changed in that wider nature and wider land,
Yeah.
on the build up to it, and then that moment post it as well.
Yeah.
So just feel that on that sort of 20th to say the 24th, and just see if what difference there is around you when you're going out walking or being out in nature. Because wherever you live, there will be, whichever hemisphere, their shift.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. We're obviously experiencing midsummer. For some, it might be with winter, but that 3 days,
Yeah.
and the shift.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. When we talk about our cycle that begins in November, but also there's these other cycles that interplay within this, and that is that midwinter to mid point. And they don't necessarily have to follow the same cycle as we work with nature, because actually, what is it trying to do? It's trying to help nourish us and nourish nature in the best possible way.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of our year in November, the shortest day is not still December.
Yeah.
It's done because it's what nature needs
Yeah.
to help us to flourish.
Mm.
To flourish, to feel like you're flourishing, is one of the themes of July as well.
Yeah.
Bring in this sense of flourishing and allow yourself to really open yourself up to what flourishing means for you as well.
Yeah. And you talked in the midwinter one about the Holly King and the Oak King.
Yeah. So the story remains. So this is lovely theme, if people don't know about it, about the way that the sun works, the way the energy works, is that there are these two trees, the oak and the holly. And I believe they work in tandem. When you do your research, you'll find many references to there being a battle for the crown, a battle to take over from one to another. I see none of that in nature. I see what happens is that one hands over the crown to another. So the 21st of June is the high point of power for the oak tree. And at that point, recognizing the next power, the next thing that needs to take over to elevate this power even further, hands over the crown to the next one. And that's to the holly, who then increases in power until the midwinter point when they hand over the crown back to the oak, and the oak takes it. And so the spiral creates the elevation, continues to build. And it's a beautiful symbol of how they work together to transform, to make the best use. The oak has the best use of this time of year to create and to do and to give so much to the world. Then the holly can take that over. And as the oak's power dissipates, the holly's power increases. So it can then take on the mantle and the role of keeping the cycle going, keeping.
Yeah, and you're right. Although it's presented as a battle between two kings, the Oak King and the Holly King, in reality, it's not. There's a grace to it. That feels to me very much like an overlay.
Yeah, it feels like a story of how we used to have to understand things, that nothing could be given, everything had to be taken.
Yeah.
And that's an old story of our old selves, way back. Now we understand the quality of power, the delicacy, and the consciousness of power has to be handed over when the time is right to the next, what's coming through next. So that momentum continues. But the oak tree at this time of year is a really significant tree. And if you are thinking of doing anything for Litha for the midsummer, then finding your oak tree or involving an oak tree in this is a really important, because they also symbolize our ability to embrace joy, to embrace the life we're living, to really fully take hold of everything, that the opportunities that we have. Often we find ourselves being somewhat reticent or stand back, or we're not fully engaged and fully involved in our life, who we are and what we are here to do and doing. The oak tree can really, really help us to embrace all of that. And what more do we need than embracing joy at this time of year?
It can
And
really help. I mean, there's a real grounding energy to the oak, isn't there? It's a very solid, very, I mean, it's a very rooted energy to it. So, and at this time where, you know, the solar energy is so yang and so upward, it just sitting under an oak, putting your back against it, you know, going into your meditation, it will keep you rooted while also letting you roam as far as your consciousness will let you out there into the galaxy.
we always talk about it, don't we? To say that, you know, being grounded, being rooted doesn't restrict. It allows you to fly as high as you want to go.
It allows you to go further and higher.
Yeah. And so using the oak at this time when the energy, when the growth is at its height, to actually help you ground, that's why it helps you embrace. It opens you up to being able to embrace all of yourself. And so it's really important, but it's just a lovely way to actually be out, to celebrate this time of year, to do it with the oak, or to use elements of the oak that you can find in, be it rituals or being celebrations, but to bring that sense of this tree into our consciousness and to really work with it, because it's so happy to work with us at this time of year. And if we do feel there are aspects of ourselves that we need to embrace, or aspects of the being or the life that we need to, then this is the perfect time, when we're going through this huge period of growth as well, and the energies are behind us and working with us, to then use the oak, to celebrate with the oak, to actually bring all those parts of ourselves into our consciousness and hold them in an embrace.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, above all, enjoy. Above all, enjoy this time of year.
Yeah,
you know, it feels every year, it feels very fleeting. It seems to come too soon and go too fast. So make the most of it. Enjoy the energy, enjoy the uplift, be with your family, be with your friends, and yeah, just surf the energies of this time, and take pleasure in the beauty around you.
Yeah, most important, to take joy in the beauty of everything that's around you at the moment, and to really embrace that.
Yeah. Jeremy, thank you so much once again. We shall see you in about 6 weeks' time. We will be starting to talk about the first of the harvest festivals, or the beginning of the autumn festivals.
The new season.
Yeah, new season coming up, and what that means. So until then, as I said, everybody enjoy, and thank you, Jeremy, and thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.